I had a question come in, Brad, from somebody asking if Geraint was wrong or mistaken to admit that he felt weak on the Tourmalet stage.
Yeah, I just think, people ask so much of these riders in terms of honesty, and, people want honesty from the riders. They get honesty and then they're still not happy, really. Geraint says what's on his mind at that moment. He speaks the truth. He's very honest, as he was today at the finish. And that is how he felt at that moment in time. And he's just being completely honest with his team. Maybe, someone like Lance Armstrong wouldn't have done that. They'd have hidden it, for their spectators. But Geraint's a different breed of animal. And I think that won't affect the way he races the next day. All it will do, actually, you could look at it both ways and think, well, why give so much away to your rivals? But the worst thing his rivals could do is underestimate G in this Tour de France. And actually, we saw today, maybe, G came back from yesterday, if you could say. I think G will say as it is at that moment how he feels, and he won't hold back. Well,
I'll ask you this, but I think that's one of the reasons why Geraint is so popular amongst the fans, especially the British fans, because he's an everyman, he's honest. There's a lot being asked of athletes, especially in cycling, to be transparent, and I think it's refreshing. And a few days I spoke to Adam Yates the other day, and obviously he had an awful day on the Tourmalet day. His overall chances have been shattered. And he said, I just had a bad day, and he was honest. He tells us how he kind of feels. And I personally think it's a good thing.
Yeah, the media and the press around the Tour as a rider is quite stressful anyway. And I think once you start paying attention to that and getting into the realms of sort of game playing and hiding things from them, it's just easier to be honest every day, because you're just talking to them like you're talking to your teammates or your family. And it makes it easier. You don't trip yourself up a week down the line when they say, well, you said last week you wasn't feeling too good and you weren't going for GC. Now you're up there. I just think it's easier for them to manage the whole situation by being honest.
I think that's a really interesting point. And my background in being a police officer and interviewing suspects, actually, it's quite interesting you say that. It's harder to tell a lie and far more stressful to tell a lie and to bluff than to just be playing with the truth. And also, let's be, in the modern era, the top riders in the world occasionally showing a bit of weakness. Thank goodness they are. It's the 3-week tour.
Absolutely.
One of the hardest routes in years, the highest level. Of course, to see a rider going through day after day, even winning the tour, just being imperious and kind of not batting an eyelid would be worrying, to be perfectly honest with you. But to see the best riders in the world struggling and having a bad day and saying, do you know what? I had a bad day, I think it's good.
And we've become accustomed to watching the likes of Simon Yates do that in the Giro this year, most notably.
Yeah.
I just didn't have it today, and I think it's actually quite refreshing. And because what they do is they come out the next day or the day or 3 days later and have a stormer of a day. This happens. This is normal as cyclists. Most people that watch the Tour, or a lot of people that watch the Tour, ride bikes now. They know what it's like to suffer. You can have bad days. Not everyone has a good day at work. So I think it's a brilliant thing. I've known Geraint a long time, and he's always been like that.
Yeah.
It has no reflection on how he approaches or races the next day, Geraint.
And that's the thing. You talk about speaking to the press, speaking to the fans, about how you're feeling, but then on the bike it's different, isn't it? Because of course you're not going to go and tell Kreiswijk or Pinot, tap him on the shoulder and say, by the way, I'm on a bit of a bad day.
No.
You better turn the screw. You're going to bluff a little bit. You're going to, and that's what you get taught by a manager, is as best you can, and then that's one of the wonderful things about this sport. When you know the game, when you're a rider, you know your rivals and you can sense weaknesses without them even slowing down. You think, he's breathing a bit heavier than usual. He's starting, the bike is starting to change. They're the telltale signs, aren't they?
Yeah, but also as a rider, all the riders know that you can have a bad day, you can have a good day. It just swings in roundabouts, really. And we saw Alaphilippe today. The moment he cracked, he really did crack, didn't he?
He blew.
He went with Pinot. He was there. They dropped G. Who'd have thought at that moment that G would have took time out of Alaphilippe? But it turned on a knife edge, didn't it? Really? And all of a sudden, Alaphilippe was riding on the front of the group of Pals and G, and then got dropped to the final. So
yeah.